Hey, everybody, it's Rogelio here, and just waiting for Chris and Yooper to arrive. But I figured we start a little early this evening as the Seawolves right now with Bowie winning tonight against Altoona. All Erie has to do is win this game, and they're the first half champions, and they'll get a spot in the postseason. So there might be a good chance at some point that Chris and I may have to leave because we got invited to do the press conference thing. So we'll see what happens here. But right now it is bottom of the sixth, and it is Erie 7, the Yard Goats 2. And by the way, those stadium, I really like the way that Yard Goat Stadium looks out there. It looks pretty cool. But we should have just Yooper and Chris tonight. John will not be with us, and I'm not going to. Even with the Pistons draft tonight, which he was supposed to do a draft show, something else came up for John. So, but whatever he's doing, I know exactly what he's doing. Good luck to him. So, but yeah, Tigers kick off 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins starting tomorrow at home, and we'll break that down as soon as you guys get here. So, if you want to sit around and watch a little bit of the see, I should actually get a better view. Yeah, there we go. You don't need to see my face. Some good camera work here, though. Ooh, I don't know if I was out there, but anywho, yeah, the Seawolves have been getting it done over the last several weeks, and they've been playing in terms of whole team baseball. You're talking about a situation here where, yeah, he was out. I don't know, maybe if anybody's watched us in the chat, by the way, thank you for watching us, but I'm not sure. It looked like he was out there, but either way, the Seawolves have been getting it done, and props to them for stepping up here in the last couple of weeks with the starting. Wow, that was a wild pitch. With the starting staff, the pitching staff got off to a rough start, but over the last few weeks, Wilmer Flores has been pitching better. Sawyer Gibson Long, before he went on the IL, has been pitching better. So they've just been getting contributions all around. Yeah, that was. Diggler had no chance to grab that. But we'll be talking about what Scott. We talked about this a little bit on Monday, but what Scott Harris said to the media, and we'll get to a bunch of other stuff a little later. Hey, Stan, good to see you. And yeah, we're watching some Seawolves baseball if you're tuning in live. And like I said, this should be, if the Seawolves just keep going at their pace right now, they'll be able to clinch tonight. So Matt Manning pitched in Toledo. We'll go over that as well when Chris gets here. And it was a pretty good start for him. He's looking forward to get back on the Tigers, and Tigers are getting healthy for the starting staff, and that's good to see because especially coming into, I think where Detroit is right now has really surprised a lot of people based off the injuries, based off what's going on. Casey Mize threw a little bit today. Stan, I am going to Comerica on Saturday, and Toledo I might go Sunday, but I will be there Saturday. Actually, Chris is going down to Comerica on Sunday. So, but I'll be there Saturday 100%. It's been a while, I'm long overdue, and it's good. It's good to get back in the rotation after a couple weeks of not necessarily relaxation, but starting a new job, day job, and trying to get back in the ballpark a little bit. And so, took a minor step back. I mean, I'm still paying attention to baseball, but just yeah. Let's do it, Stan. We'll definitely we'll figure something out as soon as everything's we'll set up something for sure. But yeah, so Matt Manning pitched down in AAA Toledo, so it's good to see. And I was mentioning earlier, Mize threw off the mound when he's coming back. I guess they're talking about August, but yeah. So Scott Harris met. I wanted to kind of start things off a little bit with Scott Harris meeting with the press, and there was some interesting comments, and I think we played a little bit of them on Monday. And for those who missed it, we'll recurve that. We'll revisit that too. And did the curve officially lose yet, Stan? Or because I thought it was 9-6 heading into the ninth inning last I checked. But yeah, there's a lot to. It's not as. I think you're going to see Scott Harris's relationship with the media be a little different than perhaps David Dombrowski or even Al Avila. So it's going to be kind of a different approach where I think he's got his personality. I just think he sees things for what they are. And I don't know. It's going to be a little different. I think he's still learning on the job and getting into that kind of habit of talking to the press on a regular basis. So but I think that part will take some time. So while we wait the guys to get here, let's see. Let's go over Matt. Excuse me. They both lost. Okay, so they both lost. All right. Matt Manning's final line tonight. 4 innings, 1 hit, 5 walks, and 6 strikeouts. 5 walks is, a little bit alarming, but Billy Lesher has been pitching pretty well for Toledo after struggling in Erie. So stranger things. And then they finally got Hannafy in the bullpen too. So right now in the bottom of the 6th, Toledo's up 3-0 over St. Paul. So you have the Twins, the Tigers playing, and then their AAA affiliates playing each other right now. Parker Meadows 2 for 3 on the day. And I could go a little bit on talk about Parker Meadows. And I talked about him today thank you, by the way, shout out to Sean Belesian over at WJR 760 AM. And I was on his sports rap show, which I believe was the first show was today. And I got the chance to talk a little bit about Parker Meadows. And for anybody who's familiar with Detroit radio, Sean Belesian is kind of actually, I never told it. Sean Belesian was kind of a big reason why I wanted to get in the broadcast in the first place. So, but Yooper is joining us now. Yeah, Yooper, I started a little early because I was watching the goat game, the Yard Goats and Seawolves. So
okay,
so you're not late. I just started a little early because
there will be no fines.
There'll be no fines. You're not getting Marshall Lynch here, but no, but yeah, I was just starting a little early because I wanted to check out what was going on with the Seawolves, and they win. They're in the postseason, and they'll win the first half. So essentially, they're cinching today, cinching. Wow,
up 7-2, huh? Nice.
And Bowie did us a favor, or did Erie a favor rather, and yeah, it's doing some things here. So right now, I was just talking about this. We'll talk about Matt Manning's start in Toledo tonight. 4 innings, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. Excuse me, 5 walks.
6 strikeouts.
Yeah, 6 strikeouts. Thank you. And we're just talking about his performance. Yooper, I think he's still trying to feel like the command of his secondaries was a little off tonight.
I don't doubt it was. A broken foot, so obviously he was on the shelf for a long time. I think he gets more than 2 or 3 starts before he starts feeling 100%.
Yeah, and it's going to be progressing. Yeah, it's the one hit is a good thing to see, but as far as limiting hard contact, I would have to look at the advanced stats. But let's go out to get into Parker Meadows, who continues to have a good month of June, and just doing some quick looking at some quick stats. 316, 349, 544. And his ISO is over 200 right now. He's got an OPS of 894 and having a pretty good month. The strikeouts, well, this is where we've talked about this, that fine line between AAA and Major League pitching. Yep. His strikeout rate's around 30%.
That's probably, if anything's going to keep him from taking Jake Marisnick's spot, that might be it.
Yeah, because we've talked about this, like now in certain cases, 30% or even like 25%, well, more or less like 30% is not, I don't want to say the standard yet or becoming the new standard, but it's getting there because every year the strikeout rate continues to increase.
Yeah.
But for Parker, I would like to see that around 25% at least, or a little lower than that.
Because that's where he was last year, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's regressed slightly there. But it seems to me last year he kind of had a better summer than he did spring.
Yes, and he is the same thing. No, and he definitely had he was taking he slumped early on in the year and then he came on through. So it's almost like expect almost identical same period of time in terms of getting into it a little bit. So but yeah, you know what's interesting too about the Yard Goats, but just I'm a fan of their logo scheme and everything, and of course the color scheme is reminiscent of the Hartford Whalers, which were which I like that, but I got to figure out without doing a Wikipedia search, just why the Yard Goats.
I just think there's been such a move in minor league baseball to come up with crazy names so they can sell jerseys.
Yeah, it's probably that. I mean, by the way, this is the Seawolves wearing their Howling Diablos jerseys, which are, I think, they're really sharp. Like they really nailed that third jersey.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. I agree. Well, for instance, as you know, my son has the world's greatest baseball jersey collection.
Yes, he does.
And I saw one today, the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, which I believe is a Mariners minor league team in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Oh, I think it's the Brewers, I believe.
They changed the Brewers. I mean, that could be.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were A-ball. They have a new alternate name now they're going to use on certain weekends called the Wisconsin Udder Tuggers or milking cows. So
oh man,
that fits right in with what minor league baseball is trying to do to sell stuff. But you can pretty much rest assured my kid's going to have an Udder Tugger jersey.
Udder Tugger. You Udder Tugger. Like instead of saying the other obvious one. Yeah, again, this is one of those things where I understand like the crazy wacky names, but I was just thinking about Hartford being goat country, and it's not. It's I've been to Hartford once. It's off with the pitch here. So this is Chris Myers at the plate. Yeah, that, you know what, Joseph brings up a good one. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Yeah, that is far ridiculous. So Chris joining us on the broadcast. Chris, we're talking about minor league teams and some of the ridiculous names, but we're talking about the Yard Goats. I think to me the most absurd one, I think out of all of them that I really don't understand, or I don't understand, but just think, whoa, that ball is gone. So Chris is gonna. Is that ball across the yellow line?
Oh, a single.
Oh,
long single.
I thought it crossed the line.
Myers and Bigby have really, really strengthened the Erie lineup. You know, we were talking a couple weeks ago about like, well, who do you remove? And I was like, you're not going to bench Jake Holton, and it's like 135.
Oh,
and they have. They basically benched him for the other two guys. It's like, oh, that's a bummer, but yeah, you got to win.
That was off the wall. My bad. I thought it was a little higher than that there, but as far as teams go, I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, the one team that I always kind of shake my head about, and I just don't get it. And it's because I think the team name before was fine, but I mean, then again, its affiliations change, and I understand is Norwich's jerseys. Norwich has a really weird. I don't like it because it just. I don't know. It doesn't, for all the history of that area, Chris. I know we've talked about Virginia too. It's just I've never been a fan of that Jersey team.
The Unicorns here?
They're the not Norwich, the Norfolk. Sorry, Norfolk.
Oh, what are they now? They were the Tides forever.
They're still the Tides, but the logo now, it's just the logo is bothering me. It just looks like some Pokemon to me.
Yeah, what's the one in, is it New Orleans? The like the weird baby with the crown on.
Yeah. Oh, they got rid of that. The baby cakes, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That one has no bueno. Well, I mean, we know that. One of the they realized 20, 25 years ago that if you have funny names and a cool logo, you sell a bunch of merchandise, and that's a great way to make money in the minors. Saw that with the Lugnuts, and I think the same team behind the Lugnuts came up with the Montgomery Biscuits, which is strange. I'm sure there's a reason they're named the Biscuits, but I couldn't tell you what it is, and it's just an anthropomorphic biscuit with apparently a pat of butter as a tongue. I don't know.
You know, it's funny, by the way, I do have a Montgomery Biscuits cap, so
I think on that one, just a nice warm biscuit with some butter makes everybody feel good.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. And I don't have the hat. I don't wear the hat because I don't wear a lot of things that are yellow. I mean, I have a lot of stuff that's blue or maize and blue, if you will, but I could never find the opportunity to wear that hat and make it sense, because as I older I get, the more I realize like things got to match for me, or it's not gonna work. But anyway, let's stop talking about fashion. Let's talk about some baseball, as the Tigers, as I mentioned, kick off a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins starting tomorrow in the quest for first place. Yes, I said that correctly. It is a chance for first place. Sorry, I was distracted on her face when she made that really weird face. Anyway, I guess I'm getting sidetracked. So the pitching matchups look like this, and it's almost like I said, it's really weird when we're sitting here in end of June. The Tigers are battling for first place, but then like this, and I said this earlier today. I'm not sure in this division who wants to win it the most, but Maia goes tomorrow against Wentz, who's pitched better. I thought it was Saturday. His last start was one of his better, was one of the best starts of the season. And Joseph says, got a Jupiter Hammerheads T-shirt. No one ever knows what the F it is when I wear that, boy. And no, you're right. That also is a mailed-in logo too. That logo is garbage.
Well, do you remember? Do you remember? What was it? It was the Fort Myers went from the Miracle to the Mighty Muscles.
Yeah,
and their logo ended up looking very sexual. What's the proper term for there?
Yeah.
It was a big old clam.
Yeah, and it looked like a clam.
Yes, indeed.
So Saturday's game, by the way, is Olsen versus Pablo Lopez, and then Sunday it is Michael Lorenz taking on. Is it Bailey Uber? Saturday's game, by the way, is Olsen versus.
Sorry,
there's some feedback there.
My bad.
Yeah, Bailey Uber, who we saw in Toledo at the very beginning of the year, he's been pretty well. Unless it's coming back up.
Yeah, and Sam brings up a point about he mentioned something about the ticket being baffled on how to grasp the positive reality of the 2023 Tigers. That was something that Sean brought up today about the Tigers being a little better than when people anticipated. And look, the bottom line is, you take a drink for that, by the way, because people do that shot at stuff at home. I think Detroit I think despite the records, doesn't matter. We're getting baseball to enough to where Chris Brown is actually coming down to Comerica Park on Sunday. Chris Brown is coming down to Comerica Park. Ladies and gentlemen,
what this
is a precedent right here. Chris Brown is coming down.
Well, all right. I'm coming down in a capacity as as covering the team.
Yes.
Although it is actually my first Tigers game this year, just
yes.
by the way it's worked. But we need to sit down and count it out, but we've been to a dozen minor league games already.
Yeah.
Or so. Altoona loses 9-8.
Yes.
Erie's magic number is 1. Outstanding.
There you go. They've clinched a tie.
So yeah, no, look, Samuel, you're preaching to the choir. Samuel's talking about 2009 Minnesota Twins. All of a sudden, pitchers like Nick Blackburn were shoving. I met a Twins fan today because in my other job, my other associate is a big time Minnesota sports fan, and she mentioned her love of the Twins, and I was just like, oh man, but it's okay, it's all right, no big deal. But it should be an interesting series, and there is going to be. I think Pablo Lopez, to me, I thought that and this is going to be part of be coming up here shortly. His name come up again, but I'm really surprised based off what he's been able to do that the Twins haven't been able to. The staff alone, just look at some of the data, you're just thinking, why is this team not better than what it is?
Well, they've kind of been quiet offensively, haven't they? I mean, that's been really surprising to a lot of people that they just I think their on base percentage is pretty low as a team. That's why a lot of their fans really, you talk about Tiger fans missing Trace Thompson. You should hear Twins fans talk about Luis Arias.
Oh, geez, yeah.
That's just nonstop if you monitor any Twins Twitter. So, although again, Lopez is pretty fair trade, really. I think I would probably lean Lopez, but the Twins kind of got off the mat the other day and showed a little bit of power, hit a couple into the upper deck at Target Field. So they probably are coming into town feeling pretty good.
I think Buxton hit a big one, right, in Correa.
Yep.
You don't want those two guys getting hot because that's
no.
They could take over a series.
You want to keep them quiet. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just going to be. It's going to be what based off this. Well, I'll explain it here in just a second. So we're going to go inside numbers. All right. So Hartford just got a double. It's 7-2 Erie, and I think it was okay, so you got a single there. So I wanted to kick off. The reason why I mentioned the Minnesota pitching staff is my insider number is 8.5, 7.6, and 8.1. And that is the 3 highest WARs in all of baseball, according to Fangraphs. And they do, and one of them belongs to the Twins. So the 8.5 is the Phillies among their entire pitching staff. They have an 8.5 WAR. The Minnesota Twins, Seattle rather, is standing at 7.6. Minnesota sitting at 8.1. So the reason why I wanted to mention that is because it's the starting pitchers. So pitchers. And both the Phillies just over 2 games over 500. Mariners are 2 games under 500, and the Minnesota Twins are just at 500. But what's interesting is if you go to the reliever side of things, it continues to be Baltimore and Cincinnati, Cincinnati's one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. 4.1 WAR, 3.8 WAR for Cincinnati, and 3.6 for Seattle. And it's just when you look at the standings, you're thinking to yourself, like, with that kind of number, with that kind of production, where for the staff, then Stan points out easily right here, Twins are batting 231. So all the pitching in the world, and this is what's happened. And this is for 2 teams that, I mean, even for Philly, the NL East is so much better this year. I think any other year that would stand out a little bit more. But not getting it done offensively is hurting. So, Chris, what is your inside number?
So I'm going down to the minors for this one. We were kind of trying to keep people updated today. Jackson Jobe made his debut in Low A with Lakeland, and we saw Franklin Perez get a win, his first win in nearly 6 years down in the Florida Complex League. But what I want to talk about today is a different pitcher down in Lakeland, and my number is 2654. That is the average spin rate on Tanner Colehep's sinker today. Tanner Colehep, of course, the 5th rounder taken in the 2021 draft by the Tigers, has not yet pitched in pro ball until today. He didn't pitch after the draft, and then he hurt his arm, so he's out all of last year. But we interviewed Kevin Goldstein a couple years ago, and he mentioned to us that Tanner Colehep was one of the last players he was scouting back when he was working with the Astros, I believe, before he moved on to the Twins. And he told to us that Colehep was putting up like ridiculous slider level spin rates on his 2-seamer. And we're like, oh, interesting. I can't wait to see this guy. And he's throwing in the upper 90s, and then he's hurt, and we don't see him. But today, they said, average 26.54 with a sinker, threw 12 of them in 1 inning, average 96.5 miles an hour on the pitch, touched 97.9. Spin rate topped out at 26.99 with the sinker. And here's some fun reference. For reference, the pitcher in the big leagues with the highest spin rate on the 2-seamer this year is Corbin Burns at 25.33. So Colehep is 120 RPMs higher than that.
Damn.
So
That'll do.
that's an spin rate. There's a lot more to pitching the ball than spinning the ball, but it's pretty fun to see a crazy outlier like that, the Tiger system, and I'll be fascinated to see if he can make his way through the system and turn into a solid reliever.
Yeah, he needs to go to West Michigan right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Before he gets hurt again, let's get him get him moving up. Well, you remember? I don't know if you guys remember, but when we had Nick Mishler from here in Des Moines, he had seen him pitch over at Western Iowa Community College. That's where he started before he went to Notre Dame, and he talked about that slider being just the most filthy thing he saw in Iowa by far. I mean, he couldn't stop talking about it. Just was an impressive guy even then. So. And then if you ever watched him at Notre Dame, I mean, he would come in and take care of 3 innings, no problem.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that actually sounded familiar right around the time we had the conversation. So
Nick, by the way, just little news. He probably won't care. He's staying on as the head coach at Des Moines Community College. He turned down, I won't say the school, probably wouldn't want me to. He turned down a Division I pitching coach job.
Wow.
But he wanted to stay the head man at his school. So.
Cool.
So, yeah, but it's kind of cool to see that his reputation with pitchers is growing.
He was on our show. Nice.
Yeah. We knew him when.
Yeah, because Cole Hep was a JUCO guy at the same, back when Austin Murr was too, right? So we were able to get some inside info on a couple of players from that draft.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he had known Chris Fetter from college days when he was working at Valpo,
Nice.
and Fetter was at Michigan.
Hello.
Sorry, folks. Just a little
No,
distract there. Yooper, go ahead with your inside number.
Okay, mine is from the College World Series. Paul Skeens is taking on Rhett Lauder tonight, and for once, a heavily touted matchup is living up to itself. It's 0-0 in the ninth. Skeens, if you're wondering what his level of dominance is, just look at this. I mean, very simple: strikeout to walk. With tonight included, he's at 218 strikeouts this year versus 20 walks. And I'm the first to admit that the college strike zone is rather generous, but nobody else is putting up those numbers with that generous strike zone. It's just really something to watch. I mean, if you were watching tonight, he literally kind of half giggled a couple times at some of the defensive hacks Wake Forest batters were taking on a couple of his pitches tonight. He literally laughed, and he was right to do it. It wasn't a show him up kind of a thing. He had him that baffled. It's just so impressive to watch. But I'll tell you, if you're drafting anywhere from 6 to 10 and you want to take Rhett Lauder, not a bad fallback.
Yeah, that's actually that was my good tonight. Was the matchup, as you said. This was touted as possibly one of the best pitching matchups in College World Series history, and it really lived up to it. Apart from they took Lauder out after 86 pitches, I think, but seven scoreless on. Let's see, I had it down here. 3 hits and 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Lowered his season ERA to 1.87 in a year when ERAs were through the roof all across college baseball. And then Skeens out there for 8 innings on 2 hits and 1 walk with 9 strikeouts, finished at 120 pitches. Just 2 really dominant top 10 picks, guys who probably be in the big leagues in another. I mean, they could both theoretically be in the big leagues by the end of next year,
easily.
As we see Adam Wolf take a ball off his chest, and
interesting spike throw.
That's Yanquiel Hernandez, by the way, who got that hit. One of the top, up arrow prospects in baseball, and certainly one of the top ones in the Rocky system. But just an awesome display of pitching there in college baseball against 2 really, really good offenses too. We're not like these aren't a bunch of punch and Judy hitters. You got Brock Wilken, you got Dylan Cruz, you got Tommy White, you got all sorts of big boppers, and the pitching just dominant. So really impressive.
I've kind of changed. Okay, so I've been on record consistently saying if Paul Skeens is there, don't draft him or just take a hitter. I'm still going to stick with that. I have much respect for his talent, and I'm not disputing that. And I got over the fear of taking a pitcher there because he's that good. But at the same time, I'm still going to ride or die with getting a hitter at 3. Just because, again, what Skeens is doing, I watched him pitch the other day when I was at the gym. Or I'm sorry, was it was his last start last week? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got swagger. He's got the mustache. He's got the Dirt Daxterly thing going. I get it, but it's just when I see the injuries the Tigers have taken in the pitching department over the last several years, and it's going to happen no matter what. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter. But that being said, I just feel I could trust the development process of the Tigers developing pitchers than they came before. Wow, people are really dancing on the dance cam, aren't they? Look at that guy's sideburns. Wow.
Along those lines, I'm pretty much with you there, Rogelio, on Skeens thing. Like he's awesome. You could probably toss him the minor or the major league, this year if he didn't already throw 100 innings or whatever. But it feels like, Virgo, when there's when there's a really good hitters there too, it just seems like you got to those guys. But I was curious. One of the things I wanted to look at was like it feels like MVPs are almost always first round. Like the hitters are almost always first rounders, but Cy Young winners, you can seem like you get them anywhere. So I went back and looked at every Cy Young winner, every MVP from the last, going back to like 1969. The draft started in 65, so that was about the earliest. I think Tom Seaver was the first of anybody. So, but interesting enough, I found 37 first round pitchers, or 37 Cy Young awards went to first round pitchers. Now, a lot of those were like, Roger Clemens. I don't know how many he took, 4 or 5, which was more than the MVPs. There were 28 first round MVPs. That includes Barry Bonds. But there were 13 second round Cy Youngs, 10 second round hitters. But then after that, it really no more than 2 in any other round for MVPs. 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 11th, 2 in the 13th because of Albert Pujols, I believe, and 2 in the 20th round. But you got 3 Cy Young winners in the 5th round, 6 in the 4th round, and 4 in the 5th round. So you can get, Cy Young level pitchers in the top 5 rounds. It's easier to get them in the 1st round, but it's certainly not unheard of to get an elite pitcher in later in the draft.
Well, I think I'm going back to Roger's point quick. I think the thing that's going to happen that will just make the whole thing moot is I certainly getting the sense Washington is. I would bet they'll get Skeens, and I think that'll take the any pressure to select a pitcher off Detroit, and they'll just take the bat that they prefer out of the 3 that are left.
By the way, I like the confidence that Andrew Miller said Skeens to the Pirates. And if that's the case, then the whole draft goes into a tipsy, or just goes nuts. By the way, I did get some history thanks to Mitch, one of our regular listeners on the Yard Goats. It was selected as part of the Name the Team contest, which drew over 6,000 submissions. The Yard Goats is rail yard slang for switching engines or terminal tractors that shuttle trains between different locomotives. The stadium is adjacent to the Hartford Yard. So, the logo features a goat chomping on a baseball bat, and the team makes heavy use of animal imagery and symbolism. And of course, the blue and green colors, like we thought, to the Hartford Whalers. And the team features an annual Whalers reunion weekend with special uniforms representing the hockey club's logo that has a goat chomping on the stick. So, it's pretty sweet. Anyway, there's some history right there for you.
Nice.
Thank you, Mitch. Mitch, friend of the show and fellow Sabre member. Wow, that was a nice play there. And anyway, Oh, by the way, speaking of Sabre, this Monday I got the chance, thanks to Sabre Southern Michigan chapter president Gary Gillette, who invited me to the flag raising of for Turkey Stearns' 100th birthday. His daughter was out there. They came out and they were raising the flag at the Hamtramck Stadium. Worth checking out if you get a chance to go down there. Because Kenworth, if you watch Detroit FC, soccer is right there as well. Some really, really good history. I got a chance to see the Hamtramck Museum, and there's a lot of not only sports history, but a lot of just fantastic little tidbits about Hamtramck being really just ahead of its time. It was a really progressive city in the early 1900s, and it was thanks to Gary. It was awesome. The food, I got a chance to try Polish meatloaf for the first time, which was fantastic. And the baseball field is in great shape. It's come a long way, and I'm looking forward. Next month, I'll be working in the Negro Leagues are having the Sabres having a Negro League weekend here where they're meeting about the Negro League. So it's going to be, forgot the name of the exact conference, but nevertheless, it's going to be held here in Detroit, July 19th through the 22nd. So if anybody's looking for some more information, I will pass it along.
Yeah, that was very cool. You were sending me pictures of that stuff, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is interesting." They had the scouting report for Turkey Stearns and all sorts of cool stuff there.
Yeah, and even too, they have the Hamtramck was the first city team, first Little League team in Michigan to win the Little League World Series. I think it was like 58. I want to say, I think it was before Taylor Northwest did a couple years ago. So they had several pictures and stuff related to that too. So
yeah, they've got they've got a plaque there at Jackson Field in Lansing. There's a little plaque for the Hamtramck Little League team in the Michigan Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So no, but either way, it was really cool. And again, thanks to Gary for letting us come out or letting me come out there. It's good. Letting me come out there. I really appreciate it. So it's the 8th inning right now. Hartford scored a couple of runs in the 7th, and Erie's now up 7-4 as Gage Workman's up to bat. And if we're gonna stay tuned, so if Erie wins, they're going to the postseason. So
for the second time in a row, but and also the second time since 2005, right? Like
Wow.
they had a huge drought up until last year, second half of last year. It'll be really interesting to see what they do in the second half of the season. You know, if you've already made the playoffs, like I mean, they're still going to be playing, but you just wonder if the focus is going to switch to more player development. Not that they're not trying to do that right now, but there's, like you saw it yesterday, they took out Ty Madden with 4 2/3 innings pitched and 2 men on at like 80 pitches. They could have left him in there, but they weren't messing around. They wanted to get the win to get this playoffs appearance. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the second half.
Well, like if they send Colt Keith to AAA, and let's say he never goes to the majors, he can go back for the playoffs, right? In AA.
You can do that, but it's a little bit shady. Like teams have done that. I think you usually have to. I guess you don't necessarily have to. Well, there's Gage Workman opposite field home run.
Ooh,
nice.
That's his first in a while.
Upper deck.
Like a dick.
Upper deck the opposite way.
I'll go ahead and clip that up real quick and put it online. But, I'll be back in a minute.
You go ahead and do that, and I'll as you were, Yooper. Workman needed that too. He had came in a couple of strikeouts, and that was a nice shot there. Second deck. He should. I wonder if he would have patented that. If Rod Allen patented that, what would be how much money he would be making today? Honestly,
you're right.
Oh man, he would have made a killing.
Good old Rod.
Good old Rod. But at any rate, so yeah. While Chris is clipping that up, let's go into our last segment of the evening. All right, it is now the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Yooper, I'll let you kick off the bad.
Sure. Well, it sounds like Chris was going to talk about the College World Series, so I'll move on to the other topic I had just in case. We mentioned it for a microsecond earlier. Cincinnati Reds, winners of 11 straight. That great nucleus of young talent they're building, both offense and pitching, really starting to come together into quite a ball club. Pretty impressive to watch. What I thought was really cool was to see a team like this who's on the way up and is only 5 games over 500 as we speak. They have won 11 in a row. The vaunted Big Red Machine from the 70s never won 11 straight games. This is the first time the Reds organization has won 11 in a row in like 66 years. So if you are old like me and you grew up watching the Big Red Machine, very easily in the conversation for the greatest baseball team of my lifetime. They were that dominant. They were that scary. The idea that they never won 11 in a row is pretty hilarious. And I guess that leads to kind of, how random streaks can be, because obviously this Reds team, they're on the way up. They look good. They got a lot of talent, but they couldn't carry the jock of their Big Red Machine as currently. So, but that goes back, you go back to 1927, the Yankees, the Murderers Row Yankees, I think the most they ever won in a row was 9. So, and that might be the best team ever. So there's some randomness to it, but pretty cool for the Reds for the first time in 66 years to have a streak that long. My bad. News out of Tampa, Wander Franco being benched for 2 games. They're not too specific on what's going on, but it just sounds like he probably had some kind of clubhouse tantrum of some kind or some kind of disrespectful action in there. So they're taking the 22-year-old star out of the lineup for 2 games. I mean, they said he's going to miss tonight and tomorrow. Hate to see it. The guy has been very productive. He stayed healthy so far this year, unlike last year. Really coming on, and the team is doing great. But as we saw with Javi Baez, sometimes the benching can light a fire under somebody. And if he learns this as what kind of behavior is acceptable and unacceptable, it'd probably be better for him in the long run. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that whole situation. It's not even Yooper. It's not one of those like well, he's not hustling or was it like Luis Roberts situations either?
Right. Something he's not dealing well with failure.
Yeah.
Is that what they said or something? So I don't know. Maybe he broke a water cooler or something. My ugly was, well, Spencer Torkelson is in another slump. I think he's something like 2 for 18 with a home run in there, maybe even 1 for 18. People are getting a little riled up on Twitter again. At some point, well, there's 2 things. At some point, we got to realize what Torkelson is and what he isn't, right? If he was holding somebody back who's also a first baseman, if this was like the Cincinnati Reds and they have Christian Encarnacion Strand, brutalizing AAA, and he could come up and play first base for Torkelson, great. But the Tigers don't. The Tigers are a 32-41 team. They're not that great. They're going to keep Spencer Torkelson out there, running him out there every day, and they're going to live with the results and see if he gets better. So I saw so many people tweeting about his little 1 for 18 slump, and here we go again, and it's getting a little old. I mean, the guy has not become the instant star anybody hoped for. A lot of people didn't expect he would be, but he is what they have, and he's going to keep playing, and he should keep playing. And at some point, you just got to not worry about the little slumps and the little surges and just take the whole thing in its totality at the end of the year and see where we are. Here's a newsflash. He's better this year than he was last year, for what that's worth. Maybe next year he takes another step forward. We'll see. It just might be a slow process with him. And that's what I got today.
That's a good one, Yooper. I'm glad you bring that up. I want to get back to the big red machine in a second, but to talk about Spencer Torkelson. So Justin Spiro Avenue tagged me in a tweet involving how his batting average was the same as Don Kelly, and I paused and looked at that for a second. I said, the numbers might sound the same, they're not at all, and I think it's kind of unfair a little bit. And of course, because Chris, quote unquote, is the biggest Spencer Torkelson hater of all time, we got a review for the minor league podcast. All he does is Chris does is hate on Spencer Torkelson. No, he just points out facts. But I'm with you, Yooper. It's kind of getting old a little bit because every time, enough is enough. The team is competitive. Yes, the division is bad. I understand that. But the Tigers are competing. They have an important series this weekend. It is what it is. Let's just shut up and enjoy it. No, honestly, like it's just comparatively speaking to last June, I'll take this any day of the week. There's Cole. Another hit. There we go. Just
3-hit game for Cole.
Big yawn.
Is that his 23rd? Is that his 23rd multi-hit game?
It's possibly. I will say this, and I'm going to do this later this week. I'm going to put together a clip of every pitch Colt Keith saw this week, because we just show the highlights, and if he were up in the major leagues right now, it'd take them about 3 games to figure out how to get him out. He's swinging right now. He's swinging at everything. If it's a foot above the zone, he's swinging at it. If it's a breaking ball under his hand, he's swinging at it. If it's a changeup away, he's swinging at it. I don't know if he's just getting anxious, and he's such a good hitter that it doesn't really matter right now. But the big leagues, that's not going to cut it. But that also brings me back to, not to cut in, I don't know if you were done with the torque point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, so something that I've kind of found over the last couple of years, it's a weird roundabout. A lot of us who got into advanced stats and stuff like that believe don't care about batting average anymore, right? It's more about on base percentage and WRC plus and things like that. But I think I've come to really appreciate guys who hit for high average in the minors, because and scouts often say hitters hit, and Colt Keith is a hitter, so he hits, and Riley Green was a hitter, so he hits. And we get lost in that. And I talk about this a lot with Christian Santana, who had like a 125 WRC plus in low A last year, but he hit 215, and he's struggling like crazy this year. And you just don't see guys who hit below 250 succeed. hit below like 250 in the minors succeed in the major leagues. And my point with Torkelson, get back to that, was that in I've got it right here. So in high A, he hit 312, which is great, right? In double A, 263. Yeah. In triple A, he's a 234 career hitter. And in the big leagues, he's a 212 career hitter. Like, you know, the power is fun. He hasn't hit enough of it, and the patience is good. But if you're not hitting for average in the minor leagues, you're not going to hit for average in the big leagues. It's not going to get better. So I think that can be a red flag, I think, sometimes, and we tend to ignore it because we're looking at modern advanced stuff, and we just have to go back and think it's still a game about putting the ball in play, really, in the minors. You have to be able to prove that you can hit down there before you can hit the big leagues. So rant over, classic Torcator moment from me.
No, it's just one of those things where it's after a while, it's like, all right, shut up already. Like, I look, the Tigers are being competitive, whether it's ugly baseball or not. Kiss the woman. Damn it. What are you doing, dude? Apparently doesn't even know. Oh, you know, this beer I'm making right now is just how this hipster, you know, being a cool hipster and all. I'm trying this beer and it doesn't work. And man, the hops are not working. And I'll tell you what, I am so sick of hearing it. Just, I'm seeing, you know, this beer's not working. Of course, no one's paying attention. Looks like all right. Sorry. I was getting distracted by the kiss cam here. No one has kissed on the kiss cam. Brought to you by Michael Jewelers. Oh. Woman's like, you better be kissing me. Okay, anyway, there we go. So sorry about that. Wow. Oh, that was interesting. Anyway, so the Big Red Machine, Yooper, you look at that lineup. I think about that now. I think about that as the team that I can compare that to, that I've seen the same kind of 1 through 9 just awesomeness, was probably the 1995 to 1997 Cleveland Guardian teams.
Sure.
Those had some of the best lineups. I mean, top to bottom were just stacked.
Yep.
But it's, you know, you look at guy, like, for example, George Foster, who guy was a power hitter. I mean, he's your classic guy that, you know, you talk about his 77 season where he hit 52 home runs. And then when he got to the Mets, he was never really the same guy.
Right.
And so, but it's even guys like Dan Dreesen. Like, Dan Dreesen's not like technically a household name among the Big Red Machine, but it was scary to think that they can go up and down the lineup and everybody hit at least above over 250, 260. It's insane.
Other than maybe Ed Armbrister in center field, there really wasn't an easy out in that lineup until you got to the pitcher.
Yeah, and then your bench is, you know, you have Ray Knight on your bench, and yeah, it's and of course the former Tiger Champ Summers. So there you go.
Well, you know, and even like Dreesen, you know, he was the reason they let Tony Perez go in free agency. They didn't really even compete for him because they wanted to get Dreesen in the lineup anyway. Then Tony Perez went to Montreal and had a massive season, one of his last big years. So I was, yeah, I mean, we go around that lineup and we get Bench and Joe Morgan and Concepcion. It just, Pete Rose, it just doesn't stop.
If it wasn't for Erie trying to clinch the playoffs, I think we would probably have Wake Forest on. We would have Wake Forest in LSU.
We're in the 11th inning in the scoreless game now. This is you know, surpassed the Game 7 of the 91 World Series.
There was a beautiful play in the 8th inning of that game. I don't know if you were watching at all. Skeens it was 1st and 3rd and 1 out. And because the only reason they'd gotten a base runner was he had thrown a wild pitch when he struck a guy out. Catcher missed it. They went with the safety squeeze. And it was a beautiful bunt. The first baseman for LSU came in, dove headfirst, got the ball, and in one motion kind of shoveled it to the catcher and got the runner by a whisker. It was one of the nicest defensive plays you'll ever see, defending the Suicides early safety squeeze, and really kind of pulled Skeens out of the fire there. It would have been a real cheap run.
Yeah, I saw when they were reviewing it, I saw him like, wow, he just got him on the backside. It was kind of reminded me of a couple of years ago with different circumstances, but just like the perfect throw reminded me of Alex Bregman. I think it was the World Series where he took a short hop at third base and threw just an inch perfect throw to home plate to get the guy by, you know, like a half a step. Yeah. It was a great game.
All right, Chris, what is your good, the bad, the ugly this week?
So yeah, I mean, I already talked on the good as the College World Series, specifically tonight's matchup, but we can talk about the whole of the College World Series. It had a little bit of everything, man. You had the Oral Roberts, a great Cinderella story, and then you just had tons and tons of high upside draft prospects going out there and doing their thing. And Florida looks like a juggernaut. They made it to the final behind Langford and like Caglianone and Riopel and Rivera, who didn't do much of anything as a hitter for the first 3 years at Florida, and just has been awesome this year. And I feel like somebody's, as a senior, somebody's going to take him in like the second, third round, I would assume. Just a ton of power there, and even Virginia went out in 2 games, but it was still nice to see.
Wow, that was a nice throw there by Winslow Perez. Did you see that, Chris?
I did.
That was a nice throw there.
Let me go ahead and should I grab that?
I'll clip it. You keep
right.
going. I'll clip.
So yeah, it just College World Series is one of the better sporting events in all of sports, as it were, and yeah, it's awesome to see it living up to the hype this year. I go with my bad now. My bad. I typically go with people who are just kind of slumping in my bad, and that's what I'm doing here. Uh-oh, I can hear that.
Yeah, sorry.
My bad right now is Nolan Gorman. The St. Louis Cardinals talented young hitter. Except over the last month, he's hitting 122, 192, 200 for St. Louis. Has 2 home runs, but a 40% strikeout rate for a WRC plus of 11. And he's been worth negative 0.8 WAR over the last month.
And people get mad at Torkelson.
Yeah. I mean, Gorman has been really rough. So I mean, he got off to a really hot start this year, but baseball's hard. Teams figure you out. And speaking of which, my ugly is Mike Zunino, who has been released by the Cleveland Guardians after they signed him to a $6 million deal, I believe, in the offseason. They just cut bait, and with good reason. He had thoracic outlet surgery last year or the year before, which is, that people don't tend to come back from that very well. A lot of pitchers we've seen haven't come back from that. That was the thing that got Jeremy Bonderman, I believe.
Yep.
And any other number of players. But yeah, I mean, it's been bad on both sides. He's never been a great hitter, but you can usually count on him for some walks and some power. But this year, 177 with a 43.6% strikeout rate and 140 plate appearances. He also was abysmal on defense. Gave up 40 steals and caught just 8 runners. That's a 16.7% caught stealing rate, which is, I think the average is 22, 23. His negative 9 defensive run save this year, which is pretty awful. Dead last in blocking, according to Baseball Savant, at negative 10. Ooh. He's slightly above average in framing, but with +1, but ranked 60th out of 65 qualified catchers in pop time this year at an average pop time of like 2.04 seconds. Just didn't work out at all for Cleveland, and it's been bad all around. And that's a bummer because he's one of those guys that looked like he could eke out a career as a glove first backstop, but without the arm and without the blocking, I don't know what he can do. So
at some point, the leadership aspect can only cover up so many sins, right? Because he's supposed to be such a clubhouse guy, leader. But you got to play.
Yeah, you can lead as a coach. You do have to perform at some point.
All right. By the way, speaking of the Reds, Will Myers was designated for assignment. That was going to be that's my ugly because there's a lot to be ugly about this week. It's including MLB being sued by 17 ex-scouts who were discriminated based off their age. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but yeah, in terms of the scouts who were 55 to 71 years old, were discriminated against, saying, quote, have acted to prevent the reemployment of older scouts or refuse reemployment of older scouts. So pretty interesting stuff.
Did any of them say who's Fabio?
No. By the way, Daily Ninja Bee said his good is Zach Short. I was the leader of the Zach Short hater brigade, but now he's playing great. That's fair. And by the way, Blood Right.
Exquisite.
You know what?
That ball is gone. Touch 'em all time.
Blood Right, name your sounder. Give me a Blood Right, If there's a piece of audio, I'm gonna make it exclusively yours. That's what I'm gonna do from now on. If there's a piece of audio out there that's like, I just want to make it like uniquely yours. Like if you want to make it the for example, Wayne's World 2, the bit where the pig like that, that, whatever. So do it. Name your audio, you will have that permanently on the board. So yeah, Will Myers is an interesting, but his numbers, some of his numbers though, in terms of exit velocity and advanced numbers, they're more down than they were last year. And so Stan says his good is Kerry freaking Carpenter. I took a bucket of chicken from KFC and I took the face out of it, and I should find it actually, and I made it into a meme, if you will. So
I think Ghost Mav was giving him the KFC treatment, the same one we give to the cheerleader part of John Floss JFK. The F stands for you know what, and then I believe we also called him Colonel Flanders. But yeah, it's nice. Kerry Carpenter, that home run, that 3-run bomb he hit to pick up Torkelson and give the Tigers the win the other day was pretty awesome. That's the sort of thing that makes fans excited, right? When you feel like a guy who can do something comes up and actually does it.
Yep.
Yeah, especially because I mean, again, for all the injuries the Tigers have had, to get something back and for him back at the right time too, which they definitely needed. But it was a moment of the season where it was, again, I don't want to say it's like the big moment of the weekend, the season, but definitely.
Well, and the other thing we heard, Cameron Maben apparently has referred to him as Kerry Bonds like a couple times on the broadcast now, which was 100% created by us in the Discord.
Yes,
so it's leaked out into Tigers world, which is fantastic. So I'm happy about that.
We have proof about that too. That's been something in there since last year. Yeah. So maybe Cameron Maben's secretly in our Discord. Who knows? But by the way, Josh Newman, thank you.
Exquisite.
Thank you for the $4.99 for us. I really appreciate it. So let me just show this real quick, so that way everybody can understand the level of where Kerry Carpenter is among, I guess, our culture, if you will. There it is.
Nice.
KFC. Kerry freaking. I mean, look, chicken's good. Kerry Carpenter's good. So yeah, Locked On Tigers. Yeah, shout out to Scott Bentley, who's going to be part of our draft show. Yeah, you know what? There was a bat he had in the ninth. I think it was the other night. Was it the? There's been a couple of bats too where I've noticed he's making it in bad adjustments too, and he's been doing a lot better. Okay, back to the Seawolves. So yeah, the KFC bucket of
the KFC Wolves.
The KFC Wolves. So but my good. Actually, let me get back to this real quick before I'm having a hard time focusing this evening. There's a lot going on. The Pistons had a draft. Drafted a guy I never heard of.
Yeah, I was gonna complain about that, but I don't think people particularly care in the baseball chat. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a believer in Troy Weaver, the Pistons GM, but we could save that for John's podcast.
Yeah. Which John, by the way, John was supposed to record the draft tonight, but shout out to John. No, I'm not gonna do it. Yooper, you know why he's not here, right?
No.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Well, Yooper, John had a date tonight. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very impressive. This is hard to go see about a girl. You got the podcast, you got the NBA draft. Probably the thing he's looking forward to the most, but sometimes you got to do it.
Hopefully he's punching up.
Yeah. I firmly believe that, because I mean, he says they're going out for bowling, and I was like, look, don't humiliate her and embarrass her or anything like that. When it comes to bowling, just let her win.
Bowling's fun. No, bowling's not a bad date. Everybody sucks at it, so it's fun. And throw a couple in the gutter, get an occasional strike and celebrate it. Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I believe in dominating whenever possible. If you're a good bowler, go out there and just humiliate her.
Well,
but I'm not good at bowling. So 2-9?
Wednesday, I bowled the 200 game. I bowled my highest game, a bowl of 210. The next game, a bowl of 90. What the hell is that? Like, I was looking at myself, and anyway, I'm still not where I want to be bowling wise. So, but so anyway, there's not really. I was trying to think about the good this week, but there, you can look at the Tiger stats, and there's a lot of little good things you could say, but I'm gonna, I don't know, so this is my good. It sounds really cheap, and this is why it's good. Is the MLB Replay Center. It's because Bruce Bochy has every right to complain about what happened. It was in terms of the, I don't know if you guys saw this play or not, if everybody saw this play, but with 2 outs, a runner on second, the game's tied at 6 in the bottom of the 8th. The White Sox hit a single, and they raced to the play at the plate. The challenge play. It was the reason why they challenged play. I mean, it was called out. Good throw. Was that Andrews? The replay was centering, giving Andrews a run on the grounds that Heim was blocking the plate, the catcher. Further replay shows that he actually had his left entire front of the plate open for Andrews to slide with only his foot towards the back. And I was perplexed about this. The reason why it's good is because they still can't get it right, no matter what. Like, you still need an umpire. Even it's good in the sense that, like, even it's good for baseball because it's a headline, but here we are talking about it as a talking point, and it's just no matter what happens, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. That should have been an out, and I thought that was a crap call.
You know, as someone who tries to find why the umpires did what they did, and hopefully finds a positive if possible, it was really hard to look at that one and find out, you know, what someone who had access to every angle and had other umpires in the room, where they found the violation there is still kind of a mystery. They haven't really put out any words saying why they called it. And they probably aren't going to, because they probably can't come up with a justification, really.
Yeah, and this is Bruce Bochy. And by the way, even Steve Sohn, the White Sox broadcaster, was perplexed.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is what Bruce said, quote, "For that call to be made, I'm dumbfounded. It is absolutely one of the worst calls I've ever seen. It was done by replay. I just don't get it. I don't care how many times they will try to explain it. You can't do that in that situation. It's a shame. It's embarrassing, really. There was never any contact with the catcher. It was a sweet tag. I just don't get it. I really don't. Again, I'm shocked. Jonah did a great job there, and he did. And the reason why it's good is because, just, again, here we are talking about this, and we're not talking about it, just the aspect that even the umpires are still finding ways to, no offense, Yooper, but I just, here we are. They're finding ways to steal the show.
They should be ashamed just for making Bochy come out of the dugout, because he looks like he has 3 bad hips and 4 bad knees. Like, he was hobbling.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I saw a funny thing today too, because another thing, Dave Martinez got ejected in the Diamondbacks Nationals game. I don't know if you saw that. And then he got one of the more animated ejections we see, and he got down and was brushing away dirt from the plate and started lying down. And somebody funny tweeted about it. He was arguing. It must have been something that leading up to that, because he was complaining about a call that was about 4 inches low that was called a ball correctly, and somebody tweeted out that this was both a reason for and against robo-umps, because the robo-ump would have avoided any sort of silliness, but also the silliness is fantastic. Maybe don't give us that.
What happened was the umpire called that one low that you saw, but Martinez was mad about 2 others that he thought were pretty much the same spot, called strikes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, figures, but yeah, it was good watching. But I couldn't figure out the Heim one either. Stolen for the White Sox.
Yeah, again, it was one of those things where I have to kind of sit here and wonder if how much of this the wow is he going home on that?
Score?
What?
Oh,
right,
I bet the ball in the dugout.
So we're watching. Okay, so the Erie Hartford game, bottom of the ninth now. Andrew Mango on to close it out for the T-Wolves, and on a wild pitch, it bounced off the catcher, went close to home plate, and the runner was trying to score away from first.
Oh,
and
LSU walk-off win. Tommy White, 2-run homer.
Ah.
Dylan Cruz scored. They brought in and yep.
I think he called a foul ball.
Oh, no, really?
That pitch bounced and hit the bat.
Oh, okay. You're talking in the Erie game.
Yeah, sorry. Watch, it bounces.
Yeah,
hits the bat.
Oh, there it is.
You know, there was an interesting one. What pitch did they get that right?
Yeah, they got it right.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was an interesting one in West Michigan yesterday where Carlos Mendoza is not, he plays some outfield, but he's not necessarily, a natural outfielder, and kind of misplayed a ball in deep left field, and it bounced and went over the wall, but it looked like it might have actually bounced off his foot over the wall, which would have, I believe, not been a ground rule double, or it would have allowed the runner from first to score.
Should be a home run.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So, but they couldn't tell, and so they called it back and made it just regular. We'll get it.
Come on! What was that?
Erie does not want to go to the playoffs, Raj. They don't want it.
Trey Cruz to Andrew Navigato, I believe, playing second short today.
Yeah, that was atrocious. Sorry, folks. I was just here is Trey Cruz.
Oh,
that was a.
I don't know. I guess you blame the throw, right? But I just didn't put it where.
Well, I tell you, let's go back real quick to what you might kind of talked over there. LSU walking off Wake Forest is a big deal. I mean, that was lose or go home. Wake Forest is a powerhouse team. They are out. Probably arguably a more complete team than LSU. But LSU's got that star power at the top of the roster. And it'll be interesting to see if they can complete this run and bring home a College World Series.
Yeah, and once again, the number one overall seed does not make the final. I think Tennessee didn't do it last year. They didn't make the College World Series last year, so that's a bummer for Wake Forest because they were a really good team. But yeah, that means probably we're gonna get another start from Skeens, and Gage Workman can't get that ball. So Erie is just Erie is having some trouble here. I remain steadfast that Andrew Magno will get it together here and strike some guys out.
Yeah, that'll be fine. What could go wrong?
So somebody was asking about talk about Jake Rogers being the best power hitter on the team. I'm looking at some of the numbers in terms of even. I mean, he is hitting better than league average XBA at 221, but hard hit contact is 47%. But it was. I mean, he's barreling up, but just not getting. I don't know what's going on.
Jake Rogers still has that kind of absurd uppercut swing. Not absurd, but it's really extreme. And so when he catches a pitch that he can drive, it goes a long way. But it's also why he's hitting 180. Yeah. I haven't looked in a while. I mean, it's and you live with that with a catcher who's as good defensively as he is. That's like we were talking about Zunino earlier. That's kind of the ceiling for Rogers. It's a Mike Zunino type, but yeah. I mean, the power production's nice, except it would be nice if eventually he'll hit a home run and a win. I feel bad for him.
That's such a weird stat.
That is crazy.
So
what the good news I thought, again, I think we talked about it on Monday night, was that one at bat he had late in the game against Kansas City, where he got 2 strikes and he actually showed a little bit of a 2-strike approach. He kind of leveled out. He leveled out that uppercut and looked to make some contact and get the ball in play, and he served it over third base. It was beautiful. If he can start to do more of that, if he can do more of that, and hopefully that wasn't a fluke.
I mean, you wonder if that's it's just his approach basically is just to launch whenever possible, and then maybe he can tone it down a little bit when he needs to, which was fine. If he feels like he can be of more value as a guy who hits 2-run, 3-run bombs, then sure, and the team doesn't mind. I'm cool with that too. It's just He's not a complete hitter by any stretch of the imagination, but so far he's been their best option at catcher.
On a team of incomplete hitters, he's one.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I know Eric Haas has had his struggles too.
He had a big
Right.
double.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the double does help, and again, there's the better options what they had too. Again, as far as alternatives go, I mean, if there's gonna be a trade for if the Tigers gonna trade Erod, maybe expect a catcher back in return.
Yeah.
I would say if that was the case to happen.
Yeah, you were shooting that idea to me, I think yesterday. About
Yeah.
Maybe because we were discussing some of the catchers in the system and how it hasn't really worked out all that well. But Yankiel Fernandez.
Come on! Come on! What the hell?
And the
Seriously.
tying run comes to the plate. Gage Workman, one of the better defenders in the system, has forgotten how to field. This is
Are you serious?
This is what you would call a comedy of errors, right? This is just
This is the Keystone Cops.
yeah. But remember, the magic number is 1. Even if they manage to blow this game in spectacular fashion, they only need to win one more game or have Altoona lose one more game, or Akron. So
They're going to be fine. Watch.
yeah, it'd be nice if they could finish us off, but
We'll double play here. No problem.
by the way,
Are you
God,
sure?
no.
Because they just blew a double play earlier.
They're due.
That was a ground ball off a lefty that went to the third baseman, so it probably had some pretty wicked spin on it.
Oh, no question.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? But yeah. Let's get an ejection here. We got the third base coach, who's usually the manager, right? That's their manager. Yeah. He's actually it's Chris DeNorfia, I think, former. I want to say he was a big leaguer.
Yeah, outfielder.
Yeah,
Expos, I think.
Yeah.
Nationals.
What could he possibly be complaining about?
I don't know.
Defensive shifts.
Pitch clock violation.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that would make sense. But Michael
Mayer in the comment section, a Detroit official score would call that a hit. He's right.
There have been some beauties lately, I'll tell you.
Yeah, we were surprised. Somebody was joking about when Torkelson hit that pop up that was a routine fly ball to right field, but Samad Taylor, the recent call up at second baseman, just decided to run full speed into the right fielder, which was a pretty nasty collision. So I'm surprised it wasn't a hit. But yeah, I don't know. I was just going to say that the lefty the Tigers picked up, the kid from the MSU, state of Michigan, Anthony Misowicz or whatever. He looks a little bit like his pitch mix reminds me a little bit of Magno. It looks like a pretty good curveball from a lefty along with some decent velocity. So maybe they like this. We thought Magno might get a look later this year. He was up at Toledo for a while, but they seem to be treating him a little bit more like an org arm, back and forth. Maybe they want him in Toledo because they want Toledo or in Erie because they want Erie to win.
For the love of God, get this double play. Thank you. What?
Yeah, well,
Come on.
You try to run for an out here. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right. The umpire double clutched the call there, but I think he was safe.
I think he was safe too. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Grant Levine scored. It was that was hit too slowly. I mean, yeah, I think he had him by a half step.
I think he was in there.
Yeah.
But hey, tell me this. What do you guys think of Brendan White so far?
He's looked pretty darn good.
Yeah.
He gave up that run the other day. I think was that his first or second run? But
It was garbage time kind of.
What are we doing here? They get a call to see if there was. Yeah, I don't know. In Double-A, you get 3 umpires.
3 umpires confirmed,
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah, and Chris DeNorfia watching like a hawk from third base.
You guys can't hear that,
with
can
his
you?
hands in his hips, but
I can hear it.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
whatever
know what-
Alvarez. Let's go ahead and head back to the dugout on the first base side.
Was there an illegal slide at
With
second?
2 in the 9th inning, trying to make him run.
I don't know what they
9-6
the umpire
score.
confirmed an out, but
Magna working
Matt
out.
Wesler
Vladimir
has-
Restituyo. Runners at the corners.
It hasn't been there.
Tying run at the
I mean,
plate.
he hasn't
He takes the pitch low for ball one.
been sharp this
I mean-
last couple of weeks, but
Yeah, Whistler's not on the 40 man. White,
Blasted one out
his
the
slider
other
is as good as Whistler's, and White also throws 95 to 97. So
yeah.
that's why Matt Whistler is still in Toledo. I don't know.
It's another. By the way, it's another victory, as you were saying.
Uh-oh.
You got to be kidding me.
There's a hit.
You got
It'll
to
be
be kidding
9-7 to
me.
Hartford.
9-7 to
Brings-
Hartford.
Brings the winning run to the plate.
Qué mierda esto. Con tu puta madre me falló. Joder.
Oh, they only need a single to tie it, huh?
No.
Jeez, oh Pete. I mean, come on. Really?
Wonder who
Anyway,
who they bring in.
you were talking
Magno's
about this.
to lose.
You were talking about this with. We were talking about this offline. It's another victory for the Tigers as far as the Northeast go. So, the Northeast
Yeah.
talent getting another player from the New York that area too. I mean, Jason Foley, same area as well,
Mm-hmm.
and Matt
Yeah,
is going out.
Traditionally not a hotbed of baseball talent, but they've done well up there. So yeah, Whistler right now 2.43 ERA, 36 strikeouts in 33 innings. He's been fine down there. But I don't know. They feel like they have better options.
It looks like
This,
Angel de Jesus is getting the ball for the Seawolves here.
Yes, it does. That's they were great.
Uh,
But like I said, magic number's 1. If they win any one of the next 3 games, they're fine.
I just
But
want
yeah,
this to happen, Chris. We've been streaming this game.
I don't know.
We're staying on air to watch this game.
Have you considered that it's our fault?
Is it
We're
our fault?
streaming
No.
this game? It's
No,
possible.
no.
We've jinxed it all. By
No.
playing it.
You know what? I will not take responsibility for that. No, I will not take responsibility for that. That is not our fault. They were playing fine until this inning. So there's a Jesus' numbers. If you're listening to the podcast, 28 innings, 34 strikeouts, and got ERA at 3.81 heading into the situation. So for the audio listeners at home, we're gonna continue to move on. But yeah, this is a victory for the Northeast as far as the Tigers go for scouting wise, because that is an area that I believe David Littlefield was originally from. He's from that area, but this goes a little farther back than that. But if you're getting guys from, especially it's been pitchers. Now you want to get some hitters there at some point, but yeah, I thought Brendan White's been great to watch.
Yeah, well, we've seen him going back a couple years. We saw him as a starter down in West Michigan. We saw him, and he was still starting. We were up in the press box, kind of spying the TrackMan, and it was like 2,800 RPMs on the slider. The fastball was like 93, and he just wouldn't throw a changeup. He wouldn't throw anything else. And they moved him back to the bullpen last year, and he was excellent in Erie. We saw him close out their first ever playoff series, or not their first ever playoff series, but their first playoff series win. 2005, and he's continued to get better. And Cody Stavenhagen wrote a really nice article about him, I think, back at spring training, about he didn't even develop that slider until the summer before or between his sophomore and junior year. He was a fastball, curveball, changeup guy, and found the slider there. And I don't know if he was in Cape Cod or he was in the Northwoods League. Is that a 3-run homer to the opposite field? That is a 3-run walk-off homer for Hartford at the opposite field.
Come on, seriously.
That is how many innings? How many runs pitched for that inning? 8. That is a 6-run inning for Hartford to walk off the Erie Seawolves and put the champagne away for one more day. That's a tough one.
I just sent a message to Greg Gagne, the voice of the Erie Seawolves. Yeah, I'm fine. My wife is coming in here asking if I'm okay.
That guy had struck out 4 times tonight. And
Yep.
he hits a 3-run bomb.
Yo, because the Jesus gives him a cookie and just
Yeah, well, I mean,
Dead. This is the garbage you give me.
that's a bummer for everyone involved. That's a bummer for Wilmer Flores. That's a bummer for all the Erie fans out there. But once again, I remind you,
the way Vasquez is going, Mama better make some more of that moist cake.
I agree, Jim Breckmeyer. That's a real bummer. But it won't be the world's most epic collapse unless they also lose the next 3 games. So we'll be okay here.
Yeah, how
Just
many times
fine.
how many times my wife how many times my wife has yelled at me or asked, not yelled at me, but check in after I yell about something about a game. And then she'll just go, "Oh, I know." They're actually complimenting you. So
A couple huge walk-off home runs tonight, both of equal consequence. The Hartford Yard Goats, and of course Tommy White when they moved to the college.
Yes, exactly.
you know what, man? I said, Greg, I'm sorry, man. He's just laughing. Like he's all he's doing
Listen,
right now. is
Like, what can you
laughing.
do? All right, like that's a 1 in a million. Teams blow a 5-run lead in the ninth, literally like once a year overall, maybe twice a year, and like in the whole league. So these things happen. I don't know who they have pitching tomorrow. They have Montero going tomorrow.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they do.
let's see, or maybe Herder. Probably Herder. And he's coming off a pretty short start, so he'll give him a good outing. Yeah, Brant Herder's scheduled to go tomorrow. So as long as he didn't hit the champagne early, which you never know with these minor leaguers, they might have already thought they won it. But
Or they got some sort of light beer, depending on what part of the country they're in.
Rolling
So,
Rock,
Yeah, maybe Rolling Rock. That's the one.
Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Rolling Rock.
yeah.
So we got some audio from the goat.
Passed out. He was drinking since this morning, like 3 pints of fucking Jimmy Bean. He's
Really?
fucking whacked out of his skull. Fuck him.
Hey, by the way, Coach, this is our friend Robert.
Hello, Robert. Salutation.
All right, yeah.
Salutations.
Salutations. All right. On that note, we're gonna end the podcast because this is gonna be a train wreck of the pod. Well, what's up?
We did have a couple questions. If you want,
We did. Okay, we did get a couple questions. Okay, cool.
One is from Steve Letson. Oddly enough, this is something that I already discussed. He said, "Do you think the Tigers should take a flyer on Mike Zunino or Sandy Leon once they have become big minimum free agents?" No. Like Sandy Leon? I already talked about Zunino's numbers. Sandy Leon's are as bad offensively with 0 home runs, but also like a 45% strikeout rate. He's never been a hitter. He's more of a glove guy. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense there. We'll see. I mean, maybe if a catcher got hurt, but I could see one or both of those guys ending up with the Angels.
Yeah.
I don't know. I even Will Myers too. Somebody suggested Will Myers. Somebody DM me about Will Myers. I was like, no. We mentioned him earlier. I just no.
The Tigers have no shortage of flawed players.
Yeah.
We're not looking for flawed players. We got those in droves.
Yeah. I mean, they added Marisnik because they had a need.
Yeah.
But really, other than that, it's mostly been kind of, minor league fodder that they think they might be able to squeeze something else out of, like the Blair Calvo guy and the Miskowitz guy. But really, yeah, it's I can't think of a good reason for them to go ahead and take a 30-plus-year-old catcher when you probably want to play Rogers and Haas as much as possible right now, just to hope that they prove that they're part of the future.
If they move Erod, for instance, I had a guy ask me this question today. Let's say the Cardinals decide to buy and they're in last place. I don't know if they will, but let's say they did and they wanted Erod and Alex Lang. I mentioned Ivan Herrera, the catcher. Not a great catcher, but the guy can rake. I would rather them make a move for a AAA catcher who's on the way up, put him in the lineup. I'm far more happy to watch him than some retread like Mike Zunino, personally.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't know if you had an opinion on that one, Raj.
I mean, what I'm seeing right now is, like I said, I mentioned this earlier. I still think the Tigers, if they're going to trade away a pitcher, look for a catcher that is major league ready. I know the Mets have somebody too because they have Francisco Alvarez, but they have another catching prospect that's top 5 who's kind of currently struggling right now, I believe in high A out of Georgia Tech.
Tim
Parada. So if the Mets are always going to be linked to Rodriguez because they need pitching, but I don't think the Mets are going to give Parada up unless but you can never have too much catching. But then after that, there's kind of a drop off among the rest of the teams. There's not really a standout catcher prospect among the contending teams that are looking for the teams that are looking for pitching. Toronto's given, with that weird trade to Arizona, the catching depth they have is gone essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess Jansen's never healthy, and then Moreno. But Varsho, I think I don't know if he's been playing any. He's only been playing outfield this year.
Yeah, he hasn't caught it all.
Yeah.
But he kind of reminds me of Brandon Inge actually as a player. Low average, walks a little bit, hits for some power, had a really defensive driven kind of standout season, but maybe not terribly well rounded there.
More of an athlete than a ball player in some
Yeah,
respects.
yeah. I think that's about right. Yeah, all right. Well, who knows? Maybe they'll go after one of these veteran catchers, but I tend to agree. I think we're in agreement here that doesn't really move the needle for us. Deadly Ninja Beast said, is Colt Keith the worst third baseman than Scope? Seems implausible. And 2, looks like the Rays need starting pitching. Which other teams are going to be in play for Erod Lorenzen? I will tell you that Colt Keith is a worse defensive third baseman than Jonathan Scope. Jonathan Scope, for all his flaws, and I don't know why he continues to play third base more than second base, honestly, other than he has a really strong arm. But that is one thing he's still fairly good at, is playing big league defense. He's still an above average defender. Colt Keith, we talked about it before. It's been 10 days, 2 weeks since Colt Keith has actually even played the field. He's got that sleeve on his right arm. There's something going on with his arm that's making him hard for him to throw. So I wouldn't count on him playing defense anywhere right now. But even when he's at his best, like I said before, I think he'd probably be a bottom 5 defender at third base in the big leagues right now. He might be able to get better than that, but I think that's what you're looking at.
Now, his other question about the Rays, I don't know if you guys heard, Shane McClanahan left tonight's game in the 4th inning with a bad back.
Yeah.
So, that's just adding on to the speculation that the Rays are going to have to make a move on pitching. So,
yeah, I mean, because you look at the standings right now in the AL East, the Orioles are just 5 back. And I still think, for the fact that for all posturing about the Orioles not really do much in the offseason, they're just getting good right now. I mean, they're getting contributions from the younger players, and they're doing it with basically, if you talk about pitching for the Orioles, it is kind of astonishing looking at their bullpen that's been carrying them. They have a really good bullpen. And so I think if they go after somebody like Erod, that would be a team that I think Erod or another starter could put Baltimore over the edge to really win the AL East. I don't think the Yankees are. Everybody always talks about the Yankees. I don't see it happening, but I think I see one team catching up to Tampa, and that's Baltimore. Baltimore has enough prospect cash, if you will, for lack of a better word, to make a good trade.
Oh yeah,
and they're gonna need another pitcher. I really think they're gonna have to, because Andrew in our chat said, can the Orioles pitch well enough? They're gonna need a starter. They're gonna have to. They gotta get a horse.
They parted ways with Spencer Watkins.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Long list Spencer Watkins. Hey, you know what though? Honestly, I'm glad he made a career. Seriously, that was a really cool story. So
I'll tell you, with Baltimore, if they want to make the big splash and get a big name pitcher, I don't know who's going to be out there. I mean, they got that Colton Cowser just crushing AAA pitching.
Yeah.
Jordan Westberg would be the Tigers starting shortstop right now if he was in the Tigers system. They'd have to move Baez to second base or something. But so they have 2 really great prospects just sitting there not doing anything because they've already called up a handful of guys this year. So whether they add those guys to give themselves some extra punch or they move them for the big arm, they have a lot of ways to go.
In Norfolk, by the way, won the first half championship in AAA. So that team is really good. I mean, they ran away with it too.
Baltimore has like a dozen legitimate trade piece prospects that would work for the Tigers in a situation like that. Send Erod home. Wasn't he originally an Orioles prospect way back in the day? Which is funny to think about because they ignored the international market forever. But I mean, they would be a good option. There are like a dozen teams that would fit. The Cardinals, like you've said, if they aren't willing to, accept defeat, the Rangers, the Diamondbacks, the Angels, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Brewers, the Blue Jays, all these, like everybody needs a mid-rotation starter. or a back end starter. So I don't know necessarily if the market's going to be terribly strong for these guys. We're going to opt out after this year, but if there are that many teams looking, then maybe it takes you could get a solid prospect, even borderline top 100 type if a team like the Orioles comes calling, because you can say, all right, well, Connor Norby hasn't been great this year, but we'll take him. You go, all right, have some Connor Norby, or have a Hudson Haskin, or Kobe Mayo.
Sure.
Just they have so many guys that they're not going to be able to use them all. Right? You got Jackson Holiday. Kind of need to keep space for him.
Yeah.
So they're doing okay. They're doing okay there in Baltimore.
And that's why you wonder if they're going to need bullpen. If you were, it seems like it never happens. They never package guys that often. But if they did put Erod with Alex Lang, what could you get out of them? It is an interesting, at least thought game to play out.
Can you imagine? I mean, if you imagine a bullpen, look at their bullpen right now. Felix Bautista has a K per 9 of 17.9. That is video game number like. Same. I mean, you look at the two hottest teams in baseball right now. Second to him, only to Alex Diaz of the Reds, who has a 15.97 K per 9. That's absurd. And what's even when you look at Bautista, he's done this in 34 innings of work. It's not like I'm just saying this. He's done it in 5, just small sample size. That's 34 innings of work. I mean, damn. And then, and then Joseph said this too. Kano comes in there with an 8.2 K per 9. But
nobody's hitting him.
Yeah, nobody's hitting him. He's got a 1.4 WAR. All in one bullpen. You have two guys like that. Imagine if they brought in Foley. If you're talking about this package deal, Yooper.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ultimate example of shortening up the game right there. It would be the Yankees kind of style what they were doing before when they were winning championships by shortening up the game because you have a bullpen. You just cannot. No way in hell you can hit that.
Even the Orioles back in like 2014, right? They had killer bullpen back then.
Andrew Miller was part of
Andrew Miller.
You know, else is a big strikeout per 9 numbers. Blake Halhoub. My God, Blake Halhoub in Erie, who pitched 2 scoreless last night. 14 strikeouts in 9 innings so far. But
put him on the fast track.
Yeah, couldn't use him tonight because of the 2 innings last night. But I wonder if he'll be available tomorrow. I don't know how it works out.
So before we get out of here, I just want to give a shout out to Max Boltman of The Athletic and our softball team, our true leader, the captain of the team. We lost tonight in the playoffs 4-3 on a very heartbreaking loss. And it was a BS loss too, in a sense, in some ways. But the
other team just wanted it more.
By the way, Cody Saberhagen plays on the team. He did he took a ball to right and totally the play they made on that catch was a lot of luck. Like, wow, look, I stuck out my mitt and found one thing. And so, anyways, it was a lot of fun. We're continuing summer next week. So if you're ever bored enough to watch the couple guys, I'm DHing. I don't play the field. But anyway, it sucks. But we start summer again next week. So if you're ever bored in the Oak Park area, want to watch us play, by all means, stop on by. So
Raj is the Willie Horton of that team.
I finished 1 for 3. 1 for 3 tonight. They played me pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. The first two hits, they played me pretty well. But the second one, what I did was I delayed my swing a little bit and I got a ball to right center, which they weren't expecting. Everything was going to left center, and I was just like, so
waited on it. Late adjustment. That's what you like to see in over 30 softball.
Yes.
Joseph, you strike me as a Jorge Soler type.
Just launching take.
Yeah. Well, no, because I was the only one for I was launching out of the outfield, in the infield outside of Cody. But no, it's also this kind of like veteran savvy at this point now. Because I feel weird saying this, but I never thought it'd be the day, or I would see the day where I'm like the old man pops on the team. That's how I feel sometimes. They're like, oh, Roger's spitting wisdom over here. And I hear that. And I'm like, wow, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've always been like the quote unquote de facto leader or whatever. But anyway,
Got to get your glove on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, something like I'm like they're going. So Cody and I were going over hitting strategy. I'm like, you should drag it to the right. And who is this? What is this? Yeah. Anyway, on that note, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. We'll be back. Probably if the Tigers are in first place, we might do a Sunday night show. Who knows? But do check we are going to be doing a real gym rat. Yes, Deadly Ninja Bees. I do put in at least a half hour in the cages per week. At least maybe a little more hour of that. But anyway, Sunday, week 12 recap or was it week 12, Chris? Yeah, week 12. Week 12 recap.
Maybe we should live stream the Erie game tomorrow night too.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sunday you're not lamenting the epic collapse of the Erie Seawolves.
No, I hope not. I will. Yeah, if we might live stream the last few minutes of the game tomorrow, we'll see. Either way, it's a Friday night.
I was just joking about that, yeah. But
okay. Well then,
I mean, we can if you want, but I just was joking because it's like we ruined it. But
yeah, you know what? No, actually, you know what? You're right. Superstitious. Unless if Blake comes in the 9th.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it works, though, right? The guy who hasn't given up a run in his 9 innings comes in and. Well, that defense in the infield was not great. I just think
we'll play by ear, but regardless, week 12 recap on the Tiger Minor League channel starting at 9:00 on Sunday, probably 9:15, and that will be. And then from there, we're going to be 2 weeks away from the draft show. Wow, draft show's coming up.
Yeah, I got to get the outfield. I already did the outfield. I got to get the pitching preview up, and
I got to get up. I gotta get off my ass. Like it's not the new job. I've taken a little bit of a step back from writing a little bit, but I'm getting back on the horse, if you will. So Sunday, July 9th, join us with Yooper and John doing a pregame at 6:30. Pre-draft show at 6:30. Talk about the first half of the season, and and then we'll have at 7:00. We'll be John and I have been actually cutting B-roll. It's gonna be an actually well-produced pod. Like it's gonna be video. There's gonna be graphics. So. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Joseph, Tyler, you guys were really awesome. Thank you, Deadly Ninja Bees, for tuning live. Javier Baez, El Maglio too. That was a good Andrew Miller flashback. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night, everybody. And I got some news to tell you guys.